everyone, and welcome back to our channel. I'm Gina May.
And I'm Mary.
And today
We
are
coaches
elves
who
are
here
to
teach
you
his
soapboxes. Okay, so when we are talking about coach, we are talking about an awesome professor, Dr. Dave Vawter. And he does these things called
soapboxes, which is where he stands up and tells us some of his most important things about classroom management that we should put in our classrooms or things that are just really important to him.
Yeah, and he probably once or twice a class, you'd say?
At least
He's
once
like,
or twice a
let
class.
me get up on a soapbox.
Soapbox number...
Yeah. Okay, so we're just going to give you some soapboxes that we've learned from the class or some quotes and stuff. So I'll go first. So the first one, soapbox number 1, is keeping the positive learning environment. So when we first went into Dr. Vawter's class, he had music going, he fist bumped us, he high-fived us, shook our hand, got to know us, and that is something that just keeps the positive atmosphere, and which definitely should be implemented when you have your first classroom.
And he stood outside the door, too, when
Yeah.
he welcomed us.
And he looked us in the eyes.
Yeah. Shook our hands and everything.
Soapbox to you.
Soapbox number 4. Except for I did it too. He does a lot of call and responses and hand signals. So at the beginning of each class, every day he comes in, shuts the door, and says, "Great afternoon," or "Good afternoon, great and future teachers." And our response is,
Good afternoon, Coach.
and that's just how he sets up the day. And he told us about how he has a starting position in the class where students know when he's in that spot they need to be ready, materials out, ready to go and learn. He also has hand signals that kind of signal to students where to move. So this is your shoulder partner, this is your
Cross partner.
he would do hand signals that would signal who you would turn to talk to for those things. And then he would also have refocusing hand signals. So he would say give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair, and we would all go clap, clap.
Woo!
End of soapbox number 4.
Okay, next soapbox, number 328. So, let me get out my presentation right here. What do you think the B key does? Let's see. Where's the B key? Oh! What do you think the W key does, Mary? Let's just see. White. That's a soapbox. I forgot to take the soapbox, but you can have it now.
Okay, let's see. Soapbox number 403.
3.
He taught us all about what we should do in our first week and on our first day of school in our new classroom. And one of the most important things was teaching the rules. And there are 4 main things that you need to include when teaching rules to students. 1, you need to state the rule. 2, you need to explain it. 3, you need to give examples. And 4, you need to tell the consequences for each rule so that students know if I break rule number 4, then this is what's going to happen. And then rule number 5, or your last rule, is always we follow all the school rules. And then also when giving the rules to the students, you need to give rules to the parents, and that kind of covers your behind with the standard of adequate notice for any sort of legal stuff so that parents know the rules and know the expectations and know the consequences so that if their student does get in trouble or something, then the parent can't come after you in a legal
Like the rule can hold up in court, is what Vawter always says.
Yeah. End of soapbox number 400.
Next soapbox, number 52. So make sure, this is for a behavioral thing, make sure if a student does something that you don't like or something that you deem as bad, don't give them a consequence that doesn't match what they did. For example, if they are talking too much and they're like, "Oh, Jeffrey, you get some extra math homework." Does that really fix the problem or help him change what he did? No, it doesn't. It gives him extra math homework, and he's just going to probably talk while he's doing it. And also, you shouldn't give students work, like math or science or something, because it's supposed to be fun. You don't need to give work as a punishment.
Totally agree. Not necessarily a soapbox, so we're going to call it a soapbox. number 64, of what she said about consequences. People defend that which they create is one of his favorite quotes. So if you work with your class and your students to create consequences that fit the rules, then they're going to want to follow those rules and consequences more.
And be like, you made up the punishments. Like,
Yeah.
so
It was your decision to have this punishment when you broke this rule, so they'll be less likely to break the rules like that. He also has 2 other quotes that are really important to him. One of them in the hallway, right outside on the first floor of Withers. Teaching is the profession that makes all other professions possible. One of his absolute favorite ones. And then the really long one from Chaim Gnat that I'm not going to read all of, but the beginning is, I have come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element in the classroom, which is kind of a little bit frightening, to be honest, but
powerful. It's like a really powerful quote.
yeah, very powerful. But you are the head of the classroom. You make the decisions, and you make 800 million decisions in one day. Because
Yeah, he told us the
there's so many
statistic.
things.
Like teachers make
It's like
over.
It's like 30 decisions in a minute or something like
Yeah.
that. It was
It's
crazy. And
Next soapbox, 72. So seating charts. Make sure you have a seating chart. Not only for yourself, where you can take attendance or you can write down little notes, but for if a substitute, you just have to get a substitute in. And say you have pre-K, do you really think the kids might remember every day where they sit? Or if you have 5th grade, will they say, oh no, I sit beside Jimmy, we don't talk like... No, they're probably going to lie sometimes to the sub, but if you have a seating chart, they can't trick her. They can't trick him or her, the sub. So make sure to have a seating chart.
soapbox number 903.
Jimmy, you ugly. I don't like you anyway. Sasha,
This is a technique. In our classroom,
I don't care.
we don't talk to students with disrespect.
Okay, well, he's
In our
disrespectful.
classroom, we don't talk to our students with
He is
disrespect.
disrespectful.
In our classroom, we don't talk to students with disrespectful tones.
Ma'am.
That is an example of the broken record technique that we learned from the All Chips Are Down, that video that we watched that was really long. And he talked about how if there is some sort of conflict that arises, if you say a statement like that, in our classroom we don't do this, then, and repeat it, don't say anything else, you're just ending the conflict there and then, and
Like
there's no
shuts
further
the
discussions.
it shuts the student down. And Dr. Vawter is very good at it because he's pretty like serious.
Yeah.
Or like he's like intimidating when he does it.
Yeah, well, that's kind
For
of the
sure.
point. Not angry, but firm, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the way you need to say it. And it
Your
works
teacher will-
every time.
Oh yeah. And you're with your teacher voice, or what did he call it?
Your sheriff voice.
Sheriff voice. Okay. So box number 1573. Oh, that was good. So the 5 love languages. This is something that he introduced to me. I think some people already knew about it, but I did not. So they are acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, and touch. And so this is just important to be mindful of because not everyone is the same. So like some students might not be want to be touched, but some students might need that little extra pat in the back or words of affirmation like you did a great job today. So just be mindful that all students are different and they might not have the same love languages in the same order. As a side note, Dr. Vawter and his wife, they are not, they don't have the same, they're opposites, but I guess they attract because they're cute. Anyway, yeah. So also with the 5 love languages, it's so the students feel that you actually care about them. Like the quality time, if you just make sure to go over to their desk and ask them how they're doing, they can see that you care about them. And it's just kind of like their motivation or what they know you care about them.
Yeah, so they know that they can succeed. Going off that, finding motivation is really important in the classroom because it helps increase students' self-esteem and make them feel more comfortable and know that they can succeed. And by increasing their self-esteem, you're adding to their poker chips, which is a little metaphor that we learned from the video that I talked about in my previous soapbox. And Dr.
Richard?
Lauver, he uses this metaphor to talk about like having a bank of motivation, and the more poker chips that you have, the higher self-esteem and the higher motivation that you're going to have, And the fewer poker chips that you have, the lower self-esteem and the lower motivation you're going to have. So we need to make sure that we send students home every night or every day with more poker chips than when they came to us. And which also kind of ties into the motivation framework, which is expectancy times value equals motivation. And increasing one or the other will increase the outcome of motivation. But if expectancy or value is at a 0, then there will be no motivation, because if you multiply a number by 0, it equals 0. So that's very important too.
Yeah, and so say a student only has 2 poker chips that day, like they're having a bad day. If you even say to them, I'm happy you're here today, Frederick. I'm glad that you came. That could give them 30,000 poker chips, and it's just one little thing that you went over and said to them.
Yeah,
or
shows you value them, and that increases that value side of the framework.
Or it could be the opposite, like a student has so many poker chips and you just say, really? You really just thought that? To a student, and they lose all their poker chips. So it's just, you just need to be mindful.
Mindful of what you say and how it can affect their self-esteem and value themselves.
And next soapbox, 57 maybe. So it's a strategy that Dr. Vawter did with us to, it could be used for different things, but we did it for reviewing material, like reviewing a chapter, but none of us knew that at first until later on. So he said, like, we're going to play Family Feud, so let's figure out what's the most important thing in the chapter. And so we raised our hand, we're like, oh, is it this? And he would say, survey says, ah. And so, of course, when we were in class, we were going, ah, like, and so he kept saying ah to everything, because it was a good way for students to review the chapter without us thinking like, oh, we're reviewing the chapter that we have a test on. Like, it's just a good way to review.
For sure. He also reviewed some of the acronyms that are used in throughout education in general. So he wrote a couple of them on the board, and he was like, PBS, what does that stand for?
Positive behavioral support?
Yeah. And then PBIS, which is that big, huge assignment we have in this class.
That's due tonight by midnight.
What does that stand for? PBIS?
Positive behavioral intervention support.
Yeah, perfect. RTI.
Response to intervention.
IYQ.
IYQ.
I like you too.
That was actually really funny in class. Okay. Soapbox number 732. So, Coach liked to talk a lot about the different theorists and connect things back to theorists, because it's all about research. Like, things have been proven, so it's good to follow them if they work in your classroom. But Vawter likes to say research instead of research. I notice it every single time. But anyway, so he really likes Coonan.
It's his favorite.
I don't know Coonan's first name right now. James Coonan? Frederick? I feel like, no, that's Frederick Jones.
Yeah.
Anyway, Coonan, and he has a big topic of with-itness. And Dr. Vawter, I feel like, is really good at this, because I felt like he wasn't looking at me when he would be talking to someone else, and I'd, peek at my phone, but I just knew that he knew I looked at my phone. So mainly with-itness is just being observant in the classroom, and we like to say, eyes in the back of your head. So that's a big thing that Vawter is good at and likes to implement.
Yeah. And one good way to have within-ness is just to know your students, know their behaviors. If you know one specific kid really likes to talk to this other kid, if you turn your back, they're gonna talk to their friend, and you can say without even looking at them, James, please stop talking to Preston, and they'll be like, oh my gosh,
How did she know?
and then they'll know from then on, I can't talk to her then, because she'll be able to see me or hear me or something. I don't know. It's crazy. Soapbox number 2704. One activity that Dr. Vawter did that I really enjoyed was he asked us to do a quick write of what we envisioned our future classroom would look like. So he asked us to close our eyes for 30 seconds and picture our future classroom, and then we had so much time to write down what that would actually look like. And we did it, I think, towards the beginning of the semester, but it was still inspirational and motivational, even though we did it at the beginning, because it helped us persist and remember, like, this is our end goal. Our end goal is to have a classroom of our own. And he talks a lot about how, like, in our first year of teaching, after we graduate, once we come in on the first day and close that door behind us, like, this is our classroom. And it's really stressful to think about that, just because, like,
just puts it in perspective, like, you are the only one ahead of that classroom.
Yeah, you're the head teacher. You're the one in control of these 20-plus students. But
It's rewarding.
Yeah, but Dr. Vawter has prepared us for that. Okay, end of that soapbox.
Okay, another kind of quote that he said, which I firmly agree with, and I'm probably going to implement this in my classroom, is the homework doesn't work if the home doesn't work, which I completely agree with, because I remember when I was young, no one at home told me to do my homework, and I couldn't do it without help sometimes, so I just didn't do it. So the point for that was nothing. Like, it didn't help me at all. So I think maybe, sometimes it's good to give homework if the students need extra practice, but like he said, it's not going to work if the home doesn't work.
Soapbox number 4,309. One good strategy that Dr. Vawter taught us to make sure that students are self-monitoring and, like, keeping up with what you're working on is to go back and, like, check your notes with a partner and
have 6 trash cans.
Don't interrupt the learning process.
That's a big thing that he always says to us, which we should implement in our classrooms.
Definitely implement.
Even though you're probably going to have a teacher, hey, can you come watch my class real fast? Like, don't interrupt my learning process. Okay, next soapbox. So this is a more recent strategy that he taught us that I had never heard of, but we both really like it, is peer mediation. So say you have, this is for behavioral issues really, so say you have 2 students fighting, you don't always want to send them to the principal or get them in trouble or
have to pull them aside yourself and talk to them.
Yeah, you can choose 2 students that you know are respectful, they want to help out, they know their peers, that can do what is called a peer mediation, where they sit down, they take the 2 students who have the conflict, and they have a script. All they have to do is read off this script, and it says, like, ask them if they both agree to come to an understanding, and it's just a scripted out thing. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it saves you from having to take time to deal with, not so much deal with it, but help when you know other students can take charge and help, and yeah.
And if you don't necessarily have it, like, in your own classroom, you can try and implement it, like, in the school. And so, like, you can have, like, a couple of 5th graders that some of the 5th grade teachers know are going to be really good at this. They can be pulled for, like, a conflict resolution or peer mediation thing.
Yeah.
Instead of having, like, to pick students from your classroom.
Yeah, and I know Dr. Vawter, didn't he do that in a school? Like, he bring it up?
Implemented it. Yeah, I think.
That's cool.
Yeah. Soapbox number 5,062. The 3 no's. Talked about those like 8 million times.
Number 1,
Know your stuff.
number 2,
Know your students.
number 3.
And know yourself. And if you know all those things, then you'll have a great classroom.
Soapbox number 1,507. 7 is so easy to say. So his philosophy, which he tried to make us guess at first, and I don't think anyone got it, I sure didn't, was Hike? I don't know. But HEAKE, which stands for High Expectations. In our country? Not really. Let me try again. High expectations are key to everything, which is so true. And research has showed, we read this in our book, and Dr. Vawter told us, that if you have high expectations for your students, they will rise to those expectations versus another classroom. If a teacher's like, yeah, they're probably all going to fail this, most likely they will, because you set the tone for that classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
For sure. I think the teacher always sets the tone.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, now you know all of Dr. Vawter's / coach's soapboxes and will succeed in his class.
Subscribe to our channel because we're great at this.
Down here. Send him an email. Who loves emails?
Send us emails.
Send us an email.
Join the Horseback Riding Club.
Whoop whoop.
Recommend him to Anyone. Really.
Peers, younger.
Go to his
kiddos,
office. He says that no one goes to his office. So go to his office.
Talk to him. Have a conversation. He's got a lot of cool stuff in there.
He's awesome. He has a grandson too. He'll show you pictures. He shows us every time.
Every day. Hold on. Let me look at it. Let's look at a picture of my little grandson right here.
What's his name?
I don't remember.
I feel like it's
Jackson. Grayson. I think Grayson Owen or son.
Anyway, that's the end of our Christmas special. Hope you tune in next week.
We can't be too close on it. Won't see it.
Oh.
I didn't say anything about it being a Christmas special in the beginning.
Well, it is one now.
Who's that?
So, when we reference Coach, we're talking about our awesome professor, Dr. Dave Vawter. And what?
Dave or David?
Well, David Vaughn. No, it's
I
Dave.
don't know if it's Dave or David.
It's Dave. Please can we show him this?
Vawter.
Should I say that part again? So, when we talk about Coach, we're talking about...
Sorry, my stocking fell.
Stop saying But, we're cutting that out. I don't know where I was going with that. For me, I'm closing time. Want to be my friend?
Yeah. I'm gonna bring his name.
Researcher.
His first name is Richard.
Richard Kitchen.
Dr.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
You can themselves. What did I say?
Doctor.
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 Okay.
Hold on. My hair is annoying me. I don't want the video to...
We're cutting this out, and I'm starting over because I was looking at the horse on that sheet. I was like, look at this white booty. Okay. What's today?
Say like something like, that's how...